Welcome to Around Space. I'm Kent Miller. Today we're going to be talking about songs about kids in space. I'm delighted to have with us Jim Thorne, who is a space scientist and a singer-songwriter. In 1984, he got his bachelor's in astronautical engineering from Purdue. He then joined the United States Air Force as a second lieutenant. In 1996, he went and got his PhD, also in astronautical engineering, this time from the Air Force Institute of Technology at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. In year 2005, he retired from the Air Force at the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. He has had an interest in music since childhood and was writing his own music in college. After his retirement, he was approached by a talent agent from New York City in regards to child-friendly music. And in 2014, he wrote an album of children-friendly music, family-friendly and comedic. In 2016, he became a member of the Recording Academy. That's the organization that hosts the Grammy Awards. And since then, he has become a member of the Grammy Awards Committee for Children's Music for the DC chapter. Welcome back to this table.
Thank you, Kent.
So tell us, this is your second CD here. We're looking at your second CD here. Tell us about your first and second.
The first CD was called To Follow Apollo, and it was about two children who are characters that I came up with, a boy and a girl named Tommy and Laura. And they, in that case, in the first CD, they went back to the moon and found the places where Apollo had landed. But Apollo was canceled before the last three missions, and so in the story, they go to those three places Apollo should have gone and plant flags and finish the mission for Apollo.
That sounds fun. How about this second one?
The second one is called A Race in Space, and in this particular case, the same two characters are in all of the songs, but I have made more of an effort to address specific questions that are part of the standards of learning that the elementary science students have to know for their standardized tests.
I see. So this is state of Virginia.
For the state of Virginia, and in particular, the title song, A Race in Space, covers the order of the planets in both distance and in size, because the 4th and through 6th graders have to know that for their test. But if they learn the lyrics to the song, then if they remember that as they go into the test, they can use that. And I've gotten some confirmation after having tested these songs on some 4th graders at Greenbrier Elementary in Fairfax.
All right, I'd love to hear this. Can you just say a word before we start it?
I'm sorry?
Say a word about the song we're going to hear.
Oh, the first song, yes, this Race in Space is the one I just described. Okay. And in this case, Tommy and Laura decide to upgrade the spaceships that they have to make them go faster. Oh. So I decided to write something that sounded like a Beach Boys drag racing song.
Okay.
And the boy goes through the one order, the girl goes through the other order to see who gets back to the Earth first.
Okay, let's hear this song.
His rocket to go really fast. He made a better engine using methane gas. If someone tries to catch him, they just watch him fly, cruising round the sun as the stars go by. Laura added extra power to her spaceship's tail. She built herself a motor that would never fail. Her ship could reach the planets in a single run. She could find her way cruising round the sun. Kids went on a race flying round the sun to visit all 8 planets, passing one by one. Each of them would go in a different way. Who would finish first in a power play? Oh, the kids went on a race in space. They did it at a rapid pace. The kids went on a race in space. Tommy started from the sun to visit Mercury, then Venus and the Earth, and on to Mars to see that Jupiter and Saturn had a lot of moons. Uranus was next, and at last Neptune. Laura started with the smallest, then she found the rest. From Mercury to Mars and Venus, Earth was next. Neptune led to Uranus, they grew in size. Saturn then to Jupiter, the biggest prize. The kids went on a race flying round the sun to visit all 8 planets, passing one by one. Each of them would go in a different way. Who would finish first in a power play? Oh, the kids went on a race in space. They did it at a rapid pace. The kids went on a race in space. Tommy flew his rocket many times around the sun, and Laura did the same to get her mission done. And even though they did it in a different way, they got back to Earth on the same great day. The kids went on a race flying round the sun to visit all 8 planets, passing one by one. Each of them would go in a different way. Who would finish first in a power play? Oh, the kids went on a race in space. They did it at a rapid pace. The kids went on a race in space. The kids went on a race in space. They did it at a rapid pace. The kids went on a race in space.
Well, thank you. So tell me about what is it like to be a writer, and how do you organize turning your writing into a CD?
First, I have to come up with a series of story ideas that cover the range that I would like to talk about. Then I choose melodies that hopefully match the feeling of the song. Then when it's time to actually write the words, for me it feels like doing a crossword puzzle, where I'll be using words that rhyme with each other, but then try to get them to fit properly. I took a brief writing course from the Berklee College of Music, and the gentleman there told me to be careful to always preserve the shape of the language. So that's my writing process.
Ah. And then you have a band? Do you have some friends that help you turn that into music?
Yes, although in the studio I hired some studio musicians who are just absolutely excellent, but when it comes time to do shows, either in a planetarium show that's coming up that I'll be doing at Washington Lee High School in March, I have some friends from my folk band who will be sitting in with me to do a live performance.
I see. So the your band has a name?
The folk band is named Shenandoah Run, and our next show, as of this moment, will be on February the 24th at the Jam in Java in Vienna, Virginia.
Okay. You perform about twice a month in the area?
Yes, we do. We play a number, on average, about twice a month.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about how you test these songs, because I understand you go to schools and you try them out.
Yes, I do. I have a wonderful friend who is a 4th grade teacher at Greenbrier East Elementary School in Fairfax, and she is the one who actually asked me to write a couple of these songs, in that she said, can you write one that would teach the children various things, such as the order of the planets, or in another case, there's a song on there called The History of Space that mentions a number of famous astronaut names, because she wanted that as well. So after I write these and do demo versions of them on my home equipment, I will then give her a copy, and she'll test them out in the classroom and then get back to me with their reactions. And sometimes I'll go visit and they will already know my songs and want to sing them for me.
What are some of the questions that students ask you?
Well, often when I do an assembly, the most common question is, are there any aliens out there? What is a black hole really? How long do they last? And so on. Occasionally I get asked if I have ever been in space. I was once invited to apply to be a mission specialist for the space shuttle program. I chose not to do that. However, I was fortunate enough to get to sign the logbook for the Mars Curiosity rover, which I believe they said they scanned all the names and put them on the rover. So at least my name is on the planet Mars.
So you get any surprises, questions from your from the students?
The surprises often come from the fact that they're so exposed to media. They see movies, they see science fiction movies, and then they'll ask me about things that are clearly fantasy, and I will have to try to answer as best as I can.
Oh, as you say, have a fantasy idea of what space is about.
That's a result of the movies, yes.
Right, right. Okay. Well, why don't you introduce your second song here?
The second song is called Mission to Europa. And in this case, it has a little personal meaning for me because briefly I was an exchange scientist at Caltech at the Jet Propulsion Lab, NASA, in Pasadena, California, working on a project called the Jupiter Icy Moons Orbiter, or JIMO. And the idea there was, believe we may have mentioned last time, the JIMO orbiter was supposed to go there under nuclear power with electric propulsion. Right. But then, once it got to Europa, it would have enough spare electrical power to run powerful radars that could penetrate the ice, maybe measure how deep the water is. So in this particular song, Mission to Europa, our heroes, Tommy and Laura, go to Europa and they plant an undersea robot in the water to search for possible signs of life.
I see. All right, let's hear this one.
Laura went to Jupiter and Tommy went along with her. They found it soon, an icy moon. At Europa there would be below the ice a deep dark sea where ships could dive and might survive. Way down low below the ice of Europa, kids could find brand new life, hopefully. When they go below the ice of Europa, things could be swimming free in that sea. In Europa, they would look down through the water when they took their ships below the ice and snow. Deep inside the icy moon, they had to look through dark and gloom to see if signs were left behind. Way down low below the ice of Europa, kids could find brand new life, hopefully. When they go below the ice of Europa, things could be swimming free in that sea. Jupiter has many moons that range from big to small. One is called Europa, it's the smoothest icy ball. Laura sent a robot out to swim the sea and try to scout for tracks and marks, or maybe sharks. Tommy gave the robot fuel to run for years and use its tools to search alone and phone back home. Way down low below the ice of Europa, kids could find brand new life, hopefully. When they go below the ice of Europa, things could be swimming free in that sea. Jupiter has many moons that range from big to small. One is called Europa, it's the smoothest icy ball. After many years went by, the robot did its best to try to find some clues and send the news. Someday we may know the truth with extraordinary proof that life could be down in that sea. Way down low below the ice of Europa, kids could find brand new life, hopefully. When they go below the ice of Europa, things could be swimming free in that sea. Things could be swimming free in that sea.
All right, well, thank you very much. I understand you do live shows as well.
I do, yes.
Tell us about the one at the planetarium.
Oh, that's so interesting. From my first album, To Follow Apollo, there's a song called The Little Bear. And the little bear is a reference to the Little Dipper, which of course is a constellation that is represented in our culture by an animal. And there are many animal constellations of those that are currently recognized, I suppose. And so the wonderful people who are part of the Friends of the Arlington Planetarium, which is a group that helps maintain the facility at Washington Lee High School in Arlington, they decided to create an animated full dome sky show based on my song, The Little Bear. And so they used the star projector to show the constellations at the right point in the song and so on. And that was wonderful. That happened last March. They are now preparing a new show based on that last song that we just heard, Mission to Europa. And I will be doing a live show on March 18th, Sunday afternoon, at the David Brown Planetarium at Washington Lee High School in Arlington.
I understand this this past planetarium event was very well attended.
It was very well attended, and as a result, we did it as a benefit. So as a result, it was very financially successful to help with maintaining the planetarium. Yes.
Brought in extra seats, pack them in.
Yes, yes. Yes.
We couldn't. All right, this David Brown Planetarium.
Yes, it's so named after the astronaut who unfortunately passed away on the Columbia.
But he went to school at that school.
I believe that's correct, that he was a student there.
Oh, okay, very good. So set up your third song here for us.
The third song is called How Green is the World. And the idea there is that I wanted to teach the children that in order for us to be able to see how the ice caps change over time in their size and extent, how the deserts change in size, how much algae there is in the ocean, which is an indication of water temperature. Many of those things are done with satellites that are Earth sensing. And if one were too close, if you were in an airplane over the North Pole, the horizon would be such that you could never see the whole ice cap. So the way we do that is to use satellites by getting far enough away.
I see.
So Tommy and Laura go to fix one of these satellites that's having a problem in order to see how green is the world.
All right, well, here we go.
When we want to know how big the deserts are, and we need to see the jungles from afar, the satellites can see the world and all that's green from far above the land and air and sea. How green is the world, to see it we must fly away into space until it fills the sky. The world is so big we cannot see it all, but from far away the world can look so small. Once a satellite flew high across the pole. It was looking for a growing ozone hole, but something had gone wrong. Its camera took too long, and soon the pictures didn't come at all. How green is the world, to see it we must fly away into space until it fills the sky. The world is so big we cannot see it all, but from far away the world can look so small. Laura flew her ship to start a rendezvous. Tommy's rocket brought along a load of tools. Together they would share the satellite repair to help it do its job above the air. How green is the world, to see it we must fly away into space until it fills the sky. The world is so big we cannot see it all, but from far away the world can look so small. Once the kids were done, the satellite could see all the algae that was living in the sea. the hurricanes that blow, and all the Arctic snow, and everything about the earth we know. How green is the world, to see it we must fly away into space until it fills the sky. The world is so big, we cannot see it all, but from far away, the world can look so small. But from far away, the world can look so small.
Thank you very much. All right. Now, I understand you also do some serious work. Oh
Yes,
dear,
I do.
Let me retract that.
Yes.
Art is a serious business. But
Yes.
you also do some real physics.
I do. Mhm.
Yeah. Please.
Yes, I worked years ago on a problem called the Lambert problem of initial orbit determination, and managed to find a power series solution that is explicit in the time of flight. The reason that's significant is because it was assumed that that was not doable, but I didn't know that as a graduate student, so I tried things until I got it to work.
Well, first describe
What is the Lambert problem?
What is the Lambert problem? What are you trying to solve?
Imagine you have, say, a radar sensor such that you could get the distance and direction to an object at one time that happens to be orbiting, say, the Earth, and then at a later time. So if you have two positions and the time of flight in between, then there is a theorem called Lambert's theorem that says there can only be one size of a conic section that would satisfy all of those conditions. But the equations that relate the time to the shape of the orbit that were derived by Lagrange have time by itself on the left side of the equal sign. And the shape of the orbit is buried in this transcendental equation on the other side when you really want to know it the other way. So I expanded in a series, reversed it, and found a way to make it convergent enough to work.
I see.
And more recently, I was able with a friend to improve the radius of convergence such that we were able to make it work over the full range of the parameter space, and that was a very exciting result.
Because previously there were some special cases which were pretty hard to solve.
Yes, especially imagine a sounding rocket where the two position vectors as measured from the center of the Earth would be very close to each other. At White Sands they would launch these things, and the angle would be small but the time would be large. There were problems there, but this seems to have fixed that. So
you're really expanding, your series expansion is about a different point in your parameter space.
We have a variable expansion point now, and it seems to work very well.
Oh, outstanding.
Yes, it's quite pleasing, yes.
Okay, this has been published?
It has been, I have presented it at an astrodynamics conference in San Antonio. I am currently getting a more complete version of the manuscript ready for a peer-reviewed journal.
Right, so it's the archival quality.
Yes.
So we can, because I want a copy when that comes out.
Well, I'd be happy to provide you, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Let's see. Well, let me ask you. We do have a little bit.
Okay.
You did mention comedy
Yes.
is something that you've done.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit.
Well, what happened was I didn't intend to be a comic. I did something we would now call a showcase or an open mic night when I was in college at Purdue. And I was very nervous and shy about this, so I called up the Purdue Student Association and said, I understand you have this event on Friday nights. I would like to try doing that. And they said, well, what do you do? I said, well, I write some songs and some of them are intended to be funny. So when I showed up, I saw the program and it said, Jim Thorne, comedian. Which of course I wasn't. But I ended up, about half the songs were intended to be funny, and people, I guess they were expecting this, so it ended up working out fairly well. And I have over the years written maybe a dozen family-friendly comedy songs about observational humor, that style. So actually my plan, now that I've finished my second children's album, I think I would like to record a comedy album in my next project.
Interesting. How are these albums actually distributed?
They are online. There is an independent label called CD Baby that many people use, many artists use. They've been around quite a while. and they will then supply others such as Amazon, or digitally they will supply iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, all of these online streaming services, and also YouTube. So the distribution is a combination of physical and digital.
I see. So one can order a hard copy,
Yes.
like the CD we have here.
Or one can download the songs, either whatever you prefer.
Outstanding. Well, thank you so much for joining us here at Around Space. That was Jim Thorne, a space scientist and singer-songwriter. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.
Ad Astra is our mantra. Ad Astra to the stars. We'll tell our children we came from Earth, but we were always wanderers. Our mantra was to the stars.